Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Get Help, Give Help Tuesdays here at the Columbia Boone County Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm Steve Hollis. I'm, I guess, the host at this point of this weekly event. Each week we try to highlight ways that folks can get help in response to COVID-19 pandemic and also how you can give help. Today, we'll give an overview again like we usually do of Get Help and Give Help. And then we were going to feature mental health today in our episode. We have several guests today. We've got Rhiannon Ross and Tracy McIntyre with Phoenix Programs. And then we've got Sandy Miller, our social services supervisor here at the Department of Public Health and Human Services. And Sandy is a licensed clinical social worker. So today, we're going to talk a little bit about our efforts to coordinate mental health in the pandemic response and also some mental health tips. And then Rhiannon and Tracy are going to talk about what it's like out in the field as a mental health provider during the pandemic. We'll get back to those guys in just a minute. In the meantime, we are, again, encouraging people to call 211. That is a 24/7 operation operated by the St. Louis United Way that serves our state. And that is just a really easy way to call and get help. If you need help with mental health or if you need help with food, just anything you might need, we're encouraging people to call 211. Again, if folks have trouble accessing resources through 211, then they are being referred to our social services staff here at Columbia Boone County Public Health and Human Services, and we will try to help meet folks' needs. Just real quickly as an overview of some things we've been working on. We've been working on food a lot. We've really worked hard to try to make sure the food bank and the central pantry remains operational so that that pantry and other pantries can keep food supplies. We've also worked really hard to identify resources for home delivered meals and groceries for people that are isolated and quarantined and may need assistance with those things. We're also tackling homelessness, which my colleagues Rhiannon and Tracy help us with on a daily basis. On the Give Help side, just a reminder that we're directing folks to our comohelps.org website. That will allow people to donate to either the Heart of Missouri United Way or the Community Foundation of Central Missouri, specifically for the COVID-19 pandemic response. So far, between the City of Columbia, the Heart of Missouri United Way, Boone County, the Central Missouri Community Foundation, and the Veterans United Foundation, we have allocated well over $300,000 in resources for the COVID-19 response. Actually, if you include in-kind resources, it's quite a bit more than that. Unfortunately, our needs, our requests are about triple that. We're approaching $1 million in requests for resources from human services providers in Boone County in the central region of Missouri. And so if at all possible, if you have the means, we're asking folks to give to comohelps.org or through comohelps.org. And you can either give to the United Way, which specifically helps human service providers here in Boone County, or through the Central Missouri Community Foundation, which is a bit broader in their approach. So again, that's a really easy way to give help. And we could certainly use the resources as the needs are outpacing the resources that we have. If you've given, thank you so much. And if you have the ability to do so, please consider giving. Just a reminder that on the website, comohelps.org is also a link to our volunteer information where we post volunteer needs for local nonprofits. And that's organized by the city's Office of Neighborhood Services. Let's turn back to the topic at hand today, and that is mental health. Again, I want to introduce Sandy Miller, our social services supervisor here. Sandy's going to give us some tips on how to maintain our good mental health and also give an overview of the efforts we've made to coordinate mental health response in the pandemic.
Hi. So just to kind of do a brief review of some of the things that we can be doing at home to help us feel normal, even though it's an uncertain time, and to keep our mood up or at least steady. One thing we really recommend is think through the things that you still can do every day that you enjoy and choose to do when we're not having a pandemic. So you might be someone who enjoys cooking or gardening or reading or streaming a show, hanging out with your family. And if there's any upside to right now being at home, is that there's more time for those things. And if those are things you enjoy, I really suggest writing a list of them. It just helps to kind of have a tangible list and see, okay, here are all the things that I can still do that I like to do, or things that I've always wanted to do but never had the time. So encourage you all to do that. Help your kids do it if you're at home with kids or other family members. That just helps us to know, okay, there are things that can make every day enjoyable. Secondly, I really encourage people to be looking at things that feel good to do, or that you do on a daily basis because they take care of you and you feel better afterwards. So whether that's, brushing your teeth and taking a shower, or if you're someone who always does a 15-minute walk around the block in the morning or something like that, keep some of those routines as much as you can. And those are just ways that we're telling our body that life is going on, and we still need to take care of ourselves. And another thing that's really important, I think, is a lot of people are putting an emphasis on all the accomplishments that you can do at home while you're there. And for some people that just feels like pressure, and it actually decreases the serotonin in their brain. It doesn't really help with some of the feelings they might be having. So I really encourage people to set very short goals right now. Now's not the time to maybe have a lofty, life-changing goal, but more things like, I'm going to organize this cabinet, or I'm going to vacuum the whole house, or whatever your goal is, but something that can be accomplished. And those goals that can be done in, not even a day, can be done in an hour. Those really can help endorphins. Our brains actually respond to feeling like we accomplished something. So even though that may seem small or silly, those are actually huge things to be doing right now to take care of yourself. And even if you're just doing one thing a day, that's the other piece of this. Is I really want to encourage people to take it easy on themselves and on the people that they're at home with. If you're at home with family or roommates, everybody's probably a little more agitated than normal, or people may be just, whatever their issues are. Some of us tend to be more controlling and want everything organized. Other people tend to, whatever your kind of go-to is when you're stressed, there's probably more of that than normal right now. And so I just really want to encourage everybody to take it easy on each other, but also take it easy on yourself. A big piece of that, I would say, with parents who are at home with kids is there's a lot of pressure right now for people to be homeschooling and doing it well. And I don't want to minimize that school is important and education is important, but I do want to really strongly remind people that how children respond when they get back in school after this is all over, how they do is going to have much more to do with their relationship with you and whether or not they felt nurtured and stable and safe. Those things are going to matter much more than whether or not they completed every math assignment. So if you're struggling at all with the homeschooling thing and you need to back off a little and it's just not working for you to do it the traditional way, and you need to do something to take better care of your relationship with your child, I would say that's a priority right now. Kids are really smart and curious, and they tend to learn in almost any situation. So don't put too much pressure on yourself that every little I has to be dotted and every T crossed. That's not as important as, are you all enjoying learning new things together? Are you noticing what your kid's doing right and telling them and giving them some praise and helping them feel safe? Those are the type of things that are going to matter more. So really want to encourage that. Also, a little balance. it's great to be maintaining routines, and that's something that we keep hearing people say will be good for our mental health. And I believe there's a lot of truth to that. If you maybe maintain your same bedtime or your same meal schedule, or something like that, that gives some structure to your day, that can be a really good thing, because as you can tell already, you lose a sense of time when you're don't have your normal work or school routine. So those things are good, but there's also balance that with a little bit of the novelty. This is a situation that we may never have again. And obviously it's a situation we hope we never have again, but try and take advantage of some of the situations it's allowing us that we may not have again, where, in the middle of the day, you can play a board game with your kids, or you can choose to do something for yourself that you wouldn't normally get to do in the middle of the week on a Wednesday. So think of some of those things and balance out the routine with also taking advantage of the novelty of this time, and trying to enjoy yourself if you can, and not feel guilty about it. So those are some of the things that I'd really encourage you to do to just maintain feeling steady. Having said that, all of us have some type of we all have different things that trigger us, and what's going on right now is very triggering for a lot of people with anxiety or depression, or who have chronic mental illnesses like bipolar or schizophrenia. Even if you've never experienced a mental health concern before, it's possible that can happen right now, because it's such a different situation. So I really want to encourage people, if you're having any symptoms that feel out of place to you, whether they be super serious, like if you're feeling so overwhelmed that you don't even feel like living, or something that extreme, then we definitely want you to call a crisis line. And if you know someone else is feeling that way, we really want you to encourage them to get help immediately. 911 is still functioning, or emergency rooms are still functioning. And mental health is just as important as physical health. It's life or death. If it gets to that point, then absolutely reach out for that type of help. But I also want people to know that there's help out there. Maybe you don't have a serious mental illness. Maybe you just are feeling a little uncomfortable in your own skin. You've been in the house too long, or you're worried about whether or not how your relationship's doing, or whether or not your parenting approach. You just want to touch base with someone. That is perfectly appropriate. There are many places that have services right now that are offering temporary therapy versus like long-term, where someone can do telehealth with you and kind of talk through. So I really want to encourage people to, sorry about that. I don't know if I zoomed out there, but so here's a couple of places to know about. If you are in crisis and you need a crisis line, you can call either Burrell Behavioral Health at 1-800-395-2132, or Compass at 1-888-237-4567. And if you are looking for services for children, or families with children, then go through FACE. That number is 573-771-3223. And they will help you get set up with whatever the most appropriate services are for you. Which leads me to something we've really been working on, which is to have contracts with FACE so that they are able to be that go-to for everybody who's struggling at all with any kind of mental health issue, from not very serious but could use some help, to really looking for some serious guidance. If you call that number, 771-3223, 573 area code, or you go to faceofboonecounty.org, they will help get you set up with whatever it is you need, and they will help you manage things in the meantime. If you need some case management or something while you're getting therapy set up, or psychiatry, or whatever it is that your family is needing, that's a good go-to. And we've really worked hard to try and make sure that all the mental health folks in Columbia and Boone County are on the same page and are able to provide telehealth, and that you will get where you need to go. And if you don't call the exact right place, that they'll help you get to the right place. So so that should all be, and also Steve always talks about the Get Help and Give Help. On the Get Help page, you can see all the mental health resources there. So that should be helpful as well. So again, just really want to encourage people, if you've even thought for a second that maybe that's something that would be helpful, go ahead and reach out. You don't have to be hanging by a thread. If you are, definitely use a crisis line. If you're just feeling like it might be good to talk to someone and get a little bit of feedback and support, then go ahead and reach out, because that's what it's there for. And there are plenty of people ready to provide service.
Great.
So that's about it for me today.
Thank you, Sandy. And I'm glad you mentioned the Get Help page. I failed to mention that earlier, and I always do that. Just a reminder to folks, as Sandy said, that we have a Get Help page off the City of Columbia's main COVID-19 page. You just click Get Help, and we've got a whole page of resources, from food resources to mental health resources and everything in between. And again, as Sandy said, if you're in crisis, please use those crisis lines that are available year-round, whether it's Burl or Compass. And also, you can always call 211 24/7. If you are having a mental health crisis, so we really encourage you to contact those crisis lines rather than 211. Sandy, thank you so much, and thanks for all your hard work. And I want to give you and our social services staff a big shout out for all the hard work you're doing in the response. I'm going to move to our friends at Phoenix programs. And again, I'd like to introduce Rhiannon Ross and Tracy McIntyre. Tracy is an incredible member of our Columbia Homeless Outreach team. That's part of her many duties that she does year-round. And I'm going to start with Tracy. Tracy is actually residing at Phoenix program so that the program can remain open and operational. So you talk about dedication. Tracy does a lot, and she's probably doing 5 or 6 jobs right now. So Tracy, I was hoping you could share with us your experience, both as part of a treatment provider, and then also just talk a little bit about our work on the Columbia Homeless Outreach team, if you want to take a few minutes.
Sure. So I have been staying here at Phoenix for 3 weeks today, and myself and a couple other staff members made the decision when the pandemic kind of started becoming real serious for us. Not that it hasn't been serious the whole time, but when it really started becoming pretty serious for us here in Missouri, that we would offer up our services to stay here at the agency. Because we're just myself and a couple of other staff members, not that the rest of them aren't, but we're really passionate about what we do here. And we have the opportunity to offer ourselves to be here full-time 24/7. A lot of our staff members have family and children at home, so they don't have the ability to do that. And it was really important to us that we continue to make sure that our clients' needs were being met and that we were able to keep the doors open. So myself and 4 other staff members talked with Rhiannon and our executive director and said, we were willing to do this. And so we've been making sure that things like our residential clients all of their group needs are being met. Any additional case management needs they need. If there's if any intakes are being done, then we make sure that we're screening them properly and quarantining them for a amount of time before they start rejoining our regular residential clients. And we still have clients that are served in other areas other than residential, and so making sure those areas are being maintained, such as the clinic, and doing telehealth, and getting those meds picked up or delivered. And what else? It feels like a lot of things. It feels like we're doing a lot of things, and I don't really, just like I said, running groups and just basically anything that anybody needs, we're making sure that we cover all of that. And then, of course, My primary role here currently is lead ESG community support worker. And so, as you mentioned, Steve, I work with with our people experiencing homelessness in the community. And so we're really just trying to make sure that those folks are getting their needs met at this time, which is not an easy task, because as things started evolving so quickly here, their resources became less and less in a very quick manner. So we just had to really start pooling together things as quickly as possible. So I and a few other agencies are members of the Columbia Homeless Outreach Team. One of the things that we do is we do outreach every Friday, and we've still been maintaining that. Myself and a couple other team members, we go out in the community every Friday. We check on our folks on the locations where they're at, where we know where they're at, make sure that their basic needs are being met. If we can meet those basic needs, make sure they have, tents, sleeping bags, food. Thankfully, we've had a lot of other agencies, the health department, the food bank, a variety of other agencies that are really coming together and gathering those resources and getting them to our team so that we can provide them to our folks. So that's really been super duper helpful. We're providing them with safe hand washing kits, hand sanitizer, food kits, non-perishable food kits, so that they have that stuff that they need, because their ability to get those items right now is really difficult for them. Also making sure that they're aware that even though we're not allowing people here in the building, we keep the lobby open during regular business hours, so they know that they can come here and they have a way to contact myself or other agency members and let us know the things that we need, and then we can try and get those needs met and either have them come back and pick them up, or we go drop them off to them. Making sure that we have plenty of supplies of tents and sleeping bags, because we all know that the weather here is never consistent. It proves that time and time again. And doing as much case management as necessary over the phone, and just really trying to make sure that their needs are met to the best of our ability. Yeah, so that's kind of what we got.
That's a lot. And
it feels like a lot.
we love our outreach team, and as Tracy said, from a ESF 6 Mass Care and Human Services perspective as the lead for that, we've really been working to first and foremost keep our existing services going. So that includes street outreach, really to make extra money available for things like and sleeping bags, hand sanitizer, food. We worked a lot on getting food out to folks. I do want to point out that our social service providers have done an incredible job at maintaining services. So places like Phoenix that are continuing to do residential and outpatient treatment and street outreach, but also Salvation Army's stayed open and operational. We just got a new family in Salvation Army last night. Welcome Home, True North, and all of our providers like New Horizons, also in the street outreach team, are just doing an amazing job of keeping things going. And the local funders are really trying to work behind the scenes to provide the additional resources needed. And so that's why we always mention, we don't love to ask for money, but the truth is that we do need resources to keep these services going. And Tracy, I just can't thank you enough. We talk a lot about first responders, but I always think of our social services providers as being first responders. I call us the forgotten first responders. So folks like Tracy are actually living at a provider agency, Phoenix Programs, to keep it going, and still going out in the streets trying to make sure that our unsheltered homeless population is still being served. So Tracy, thanks to you and kudos to you. I'm going to turn to Rhiannon Ross. Rhiannon's the Chief Financial Officer at Phoenix Programs. I know we've had some nonprofit organizations watching these Facebook Live events. I thought also, just for everyone, it might be interesting for Rhiannon to talk about, as the person who really works on keeping the money going at a fairly large nonprofit, kind of what that looks like in this environment. I know for a fact, because we're watching these things closely, the state and federal resources are very slow in coming. In fact, we are seeing next to nothing come in for the response. It looks like most of that will wind up being long-term recovery. Rhiannon, I was hoping you could talk a little bit about just what your day looks like trying to access resources to keep your regular services going, but also I know a lot of agencies have had to cancel fundraisers. I probably surprise people to know that even a large mental health treatment provider, you guys do things like fundraisers just to keep operations going. So turn it over to you, Rhiannon, to talk about those things.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Yeah, so I think it's interesting kind of when we started this process, some of the information was coming out on the news and we were hearing it, and none of us have really experienced a pandemic like this. So we're seeing kind of what other countries are doing and thinking, well, maybe we need to do this and need to do that. And within about 3 to 4 days, it went from, oh, this is kind of on the horizon a little bit to, oh my gosh, we need to make a decision right now. And, we are just a grassroots nonprofit. So we don't have a lot of reserves. We don't have multi-state operations. So a lot of our funding is unit-based. So if we don't have clients coming in the door and we're not providing units, then we're not able to bill and continue those services. So it definitely changed the entire financial climate and also the work environment. Phoenix has been looking into doing more telehealth and kind of moving forward with the times and doing that, but we did not have a full system set up. So the first 3 days were just a nightmare. To be honest, we were scrambling, trying to make sure, first and foremost, that our clients' needs were being met. And then secondly, that our staff needs were being met. Sometimes we think that, we can just put everything on our staff and, they're just robots. They're just going to go through the motions. But, our staff are struggling too. Our staff have families and people that they're trying to take care of outside of work. And so we needed to make sure that not only the clients were handled, but also the staff. So the financial climate has been really head spinning in that there's been a lot of different things coming out, more private foundations kind of putting money out. There was the payroll protection program, very time sensitive. So as well as trying to set up infrastructure to do telehealth, also trying to stay on top of the financial pieces, and then also our current funders. So we have a lot of different funders, and also making sure that we are staying on top of their regulations and making sure that we're doing what they need us to do, and also reporting back so that they can ensure that their money is being used effectively. And early on, we had to make that decision if we were going to close residential, and it really wasn't a decision. I mean, we just decided that we were definitely going to keep it open. And fortunately, we have a really passionate staff. So we had 5 staff members that immediately stepped up and said, we will move in, we will keep things moving. We have had very few staff that have been too scared to come in. They just really feel very passionately and strongly about, meeting our clients' needs. We have moved some of our office operations so people can do that from home. But they are still having to do all the same functions, keep payroll moving, all those pieces. So it's really, the day-to-day is interesting. I try not to look too far ahead because it can be a little frightening. So, it's like, okay, let's get to Wednesday and then let's get to Friday, and then we'll kind of keep moving past there. We're having lots of different meetings with community agencies, nonprofit agencies in the community, and everybody is, struggling with the same thing. But everybody's really committed. So it's also, it's difficult, but it's also really inspiring because everybody is pulling together just magically. And it's really amazing to see that. But one thing that Phoenix has done, and this might help maybe some other nonprofits that are kind of the same as us and doing the best they can and trying to keep the financial pieces moving, is we kind of broken things into kind of short-term, midterm, and long-term. So the short term for us was those kind of immediate needs, making sure clients can reach their counselors. It's through telehealth, it's through phone calls, it's through our Skype business, but making sure that our clients definitely have that connection. And then also making sure that our clients have the things that they need. So the supplies, the transportation, childcare, child services and resources, because, you know, schools are out now. So that's kind of another element that we're seeing our clients struggle with. And then also short term for our staff. So making sure we've got computers and laptops, and we have one IT person. So he's really valuable right now. So making sure that he has what he needs to keep everybody else moving. And so then those are kind of our short term day to day. And then our midterm is we're kind of looking at how that will look. And that's going to be how we continue to provide support kind of as businesses start opening up. That initial step of, okay, the stay order's over. So we have to kind of start going back through the motions and how that's going to look, and how we're going to continue that support. And transportation is going to be a huge piece of that for us when we're able to kind of take clients back into the facility. And then family resources, you know, looking at some crisis counseling, because even though we're trying to look day to day, there's going to be repercussions of this for weeks, months, you know, year after this. So really trying to put some of those pieces in place also. And then our long-term would be crisis counseling as well, family counseling, you know, kind of adding different elements to our treatment. So it's really helped us and our directors break it up into short-term, midterm, and long-term. Because that first week, it felt like we were all over the map. And we were trying to do the short-term, but trying to think about the long-term funding and all these pieces. So breaking it out has really helped. But just trying to keep all those pieces moving, and checking in with funders. And our funders have been just really valuable resources. You know, initially it was emails and rules and regulations that have been sent out, but there's been continuous meetings, and we're able to reach them on the phone. I don't think any of our funders have shut down. They may have moved operations to their house. They may be, you know, working in different locations, but all of our funders are readily available. So that has made the financial pieces a little bit less stressful, knowing that they're at least there, you know, supporting us. But then, of course, you know, just really take it throughout all those pieces, taking care of our staff. Because if we don't have our staff, none of the pieces are gonna work. So with Tracy and the team that's working at Phoenix, I know that one of our directors, I think, maybe ordered some food and some adult coloring books, and, you know, just kind of different things to keep staff motivated. Initially, I started sending out a couple of emails, you know, just kind of asking how people are, and, you know, just kind of upbeat emails. My staff can call me. So just those little pieces that when we're in the office, we kind of take for granted, because people can stop by my office. But when we're all working from home during this time, it's really important. So that's kind of in a nutshell what Phoenix has been doing, and kind of how we're keeping it all together, or at least trying to keep it all together. It's kind of a struggle, and everybody's going through it. But I think, you know, everybody in the community is really working hard to keep all these pieces together, and that makes a huge difference. And also when we hear some of the stories of people that we're serving and needs that we're meeting. I know, Steve, there's been a couple of times you've called us, with a need, and we may reach out to other community members, and kind of hearing those stories and how people are getting served and helped in the community. It kind of makes it all worthwhile. So we're definitely helping and keeping things going. So in a nutshell, that's kind of how we're going so far.
It's a lot, and we can't thank you guys enough. For those of you that have not worked in nonprofits, just imagine running a business and giving away your services and trying to figure out a way to continue to do that. It is an incredible thing that our nonprofit partners do on a daily basis. And needless to say, the fact that Phoenix could keep some of our most critical mental health services available in the community at this time is just a huge relief to us, and we're incredibly thankful for all the work that Phoenix staff are doing. And I'll give Tracy another shout out. She saved a woman's life the other day. I don't know another way to put it, but I'm absolutely convinced that if Tracy had not intervened, that we would have lost one of our citizens to mental illness. So it's very real. And I just can't thank you guys enough for all the work you're doing. And it's a huge variety of things. I know, Rhiannon, you and I have a meeting later today to start thinking about utility assistance and motel vouchers. And we'll keep coming back on Tuesdays to talk about different areas. At some point, we will transition from the response to the what we call long-term recovery. Many of us will be the same people doing the same things. It's just we're going to have to think about things differently. Hopefully we'll have some of those federal resources come in to help us with some housing. We struggle with enough affordable housing all year, and it's going to be particularly challenging looking ahead. But we've got an amazing nonprofit community here. And just Columbia in general, the way that we work together is so unusual between the local governments and local funders and our nonprofit partners. It always gives me comfort to know that I'm in Columbia, Missouri, with such an incredible network of health and human service providers. So again, I want to thank our guests from Phoenix Programs, Rhiannon Ross, the Chief Financial Officer, and Tracy McIntyre. I call her the utility woman. She does it. And then also from our staff, Sandy Miller, our social services supervisor, who gave us some tips on mental well-being, but also a little overview of the work that we do to coordinate those services in the community during disasters and in this pandemic. As always, we want to thank everyone who joined us on this Facebook Live event. It's our pleasure to do these and to try to get the word out about get help and give help. Again, just as a reminder, if you need help, call 211, and that's available 24/7. You can also access those resources online, or you can go to the City of Columbia's Get Help page, which you can access off the city's COVID-19 page. And then to give help, if you would, either your money or your time, go to comohelps.org. Again, thanks to all our guests and thanks to all our viewers, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone next week.